Alright, hello everybody. Welcome to the world's greatest Spider-Man podcast. Here comes the Spider-Cast. I'm your co-host Mike Allen. As always, I'm joined by
Joshua Mervell, and today we're going to be taking a look at some of the Spider-Man comics from the 1994 animated series. I said comics, but I meant cartoons, yeah.
That's right.
They're based on comics, kind of.
That's true.
So,
That's true.
If things were not confusing enough already, we are going to review an episode called Spider-Man Season 5, Episode 2, 6 Forgotten Warriors, Chapter 1, 6 Forgotten Warriors. So yeah, Josh. Oh, wait, I forgot to mention, wait a minute, I'm joined by Joshua Mervell. Did I even announce you yet, Josh? I did.
Yeah.
Josh is here.
But I didn't announce Bex.
We didn't
Luther.
announce Bex.
Yeah, but to be fair, skipping me is kind of a bit
guest.
now, so...
No, we dropped that
Kevin.
bit, but okay, we'll bring it back.
Did we? Because I still don't feel welcome.
And we're also joined by Kevin Jank for the second time in a row. Kevin Jank.
Welcome back.
Nice to talk to you guys, but Mike Allen, wow.
I think
got him.
also, I think you're approaching a record now because this is your 6th appearance, right?
I think so. 5 or 6. I'm going to never determine which one.
Yeah, well, we'll have to look at the database later, but you might be approaching the record.
Bring out your spreadsheet and we'll figure it out.
Yeah,
okay.
that's a milestone. The 6th appearance.
Yeah.
Gonna make good money off that 6th appearance.
Oh, man.
But anyway, okay, so we are going to talk about this episode, and Josh, you're going to tell us what happened in
So this is season 5, episode 2, 6 Forgotten Warriors, chapter 1, 6 Forgotten Warriors.
Yeah.
Okay, so it starts off with this guy. His name is Keen Marlowe. He goes to S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters, and he's talking about how Nick Fury's giving him a job, and it's to stop this person that is standing in their way from saving the entire universe. And that person's name is Aunt May. That's right. Aunt May is the key to this to all of this, apparently. So, cut over to Russia, I believe, and Silver Sable shows up, and she is attacking and capturing a scientist who we soon find out from Robbie Robertson and J. Jonah Jameson at the Daily Bugle is this, like, evil-ish scientist that has worked with Nazis in World War II.
He's a WW2 enemy scientist.
Right.
Can't say Nazi on a kid's show.
True.
Well, they never say Nazi.
Not
First
once.
off.
Yeah.
Not once, but I think he's a Russian scientist that was coerced into working for the German people.
Right.
I don't want to besmirch the man's name.
Sure. So
whatever it is, I don't remember.
So the Bugle is going to run with this story as their, like, front page story about this scientist that's gone missing or has been, like, broken out of a prison or something. And then we cut over to Aunt May. She's getting ready to move because she's moving out of her her home that Peter grew up in, because it's just her there now that Peter has moved out with his now wife, MJ. So she's going to move in with Aunt Anna. And Aunt May has a little bit of an accident as she kind of, like, gets scared and, like, faints because she reads the newspaper headline, and we're not really sure why she's scared. And we cut over to Kingpin, and he's doing some evil stuff, and he also wants this scientist after seeing it in the newspaper, so he's putting together the Sinister Six again. Actually, they're called something else in this, like
Insidious.
Insidious 6 for some reason.
It has
strange.
to do with censorship and the word sinister specifically being not
Really?
okay. Yeah.
It has to do with what?
The censorship?
Yeah, and it has, like, the word sinister, they couldn't use it on a kid's cartoon.
Wow.
Interesting.
Something's really stupid.
But
That
how did
is
Mr.
really-
Sinister sneak by on the X-Men cartoon?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's
Different studio?
weird. Yeah.
Oh. They're both on Fox. You'd think, the censors are the
I'm gonna blame
No, it's
Avi
goofy.
Arad.
same. Sure.
So, what else is going on? So, yeah, he's putting together the Sinister Six, and he's putting the Vulture in charge now, who is now young after the events of a few episodes ago that we saw. We cut back to Peter. He's packing up some stuff from the attic, and he finds passports from his parents from a long time ago, and he sees through that there are stamps from all over the world on their passports. So he's like, this is strange. And then Keen Marlowe shows up at their house while they're packing and kind of invites himself in, and they're having tea. And Aunt May and him are kind of catching up. Peter doesn't trust him immediately and brings up his parents' passports in front of him after saying he doesn't trust this guy. Anyways, so then Aunt May's like, Aunt May's kind of like brushing it under the carpet. What happens next? I don't even know.
Peter goes to Russia.
Well, the old man leaves and Spider-Man follows him.
Right, and he
hitches a ride on his car, his flying car.
Rides in his spaceship back to S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters and finds out that Nick Fury knows something about his parents. And that we kind of get this revelation that his parents were Russian spies in the war, and that's how they died. And Nick Fury says that that's how the legacy is going to end, and we're going to keep it that way. And then
nobody knows about this in the first place, so it's important that they stay traitors, except no one in the world knows.
Yeah.
Traitors.
So then the Sinister Six show up because they need to they need to break Chameleon out of the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters because he's the sixth and final members of the Sinister Six that they need. Spidey fights them. They end up flying away. Chameleon's out. And then, I think Keen Marlowe also kind of tells him a little bit of what happened. And this kind of brings them to the point of like him finding out that he was tied in with this like Russian scientist, the one that was captured. So he has the bright idea to leave and go to Russia to figure out what the story is behind his parents and what's going on there. So he goes to the Daily Bugle and he lies about Spider-Man fleeing to Russia to become the new president of Russia
Stupid.
to convince J. Jonah Jameson to pay for his plane ticket to Russia. And Robbie Robertson backs him up. Sorry?
Kind of loved it.
Yeah. Robbie Robertson backs him up because he needs to go to Russia for some strange reason too. So the two of them get on to a plane. They go there. Robbie meets up with the scientist at some point, right? Oh, right. I'm sorry. I'm missing a whole thing. Somebody stopped Robbie and gave him like a letter or something to give to the scientist. So that's why Robbie needs to go to Russia as well. So at some point, Robbie sneaks off and Peter thinks this is weird. So in his Spidey costume, he tails him and he like chases him over to the scientist's place where where the scientist is then kidnapped by the Silver Sable group. And apparently they're supposed to be the good guys, but they do leave like a bunch of dynamite to blow up the entire city block and destroy Spider-Man so they can get away with the scientist. And we're left on this cliffhanger of if they're going to survive this explosion or not. So,
Well, okay, let me just say quickly, I love me some Spidey comics, but the source of this story, I believe it's Spider-Man Annual number something or other, written by Stan Lee, I think is the worst idea Stan Lee ever had, specifically because Peter Parker is supposed to be an everyman, and revealing that his parents are secretly spies or whatever bullshit the idea was, I think is a huge mistake. Now, that being said, I thought the episode was okay. I thought it was fine. But Kevin Jink, we want to know what you thought. What was your impression of this episode? What'd you think?
I'll probably going to second you on that one and say it was fine. It's definitely not the best. It's a lot of setup for what's to come. Not a whole lot happens in this one. The animation was a little bit stiffer than I remembered, especially like when it first opened up. And we see like Keen Marlowe getting in the flying car and going to the helicarrier. Like it was real stiff. Like they barely animated that. It was just a flying car. It didn't seem like it was that complicated, but they didn't put a lot of effort into it. Like I thought when the characters were talking, it looked a little bit better, but some of that stuff was just I was like, is it all going to be like this?
Remember, is this the first time you've reviewed the cartoon with us on Spidercast?
Yes. Yeah, it's been a while since I've watched these.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, the episodes are definitely inconsistent for sure.
Yeah. I did like that King Marlowe guy was voiced by Roy Dodgeris, I think his name is, who I recognized right away.
Okay.
And slowly trying to make my way through those, so...
So which character was
that? Keen Marlowe.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, the old man. Yeah. He was also Wesley's dad on an episode of Angel.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, what else can you say? Are you a fan of this idea that Peter Parker's parents were spies?
Not really. I mean, it's one of those ideas that when you first hear about it, it's interesting, but then you think about it more and you're just like, oh, yeah, I don't like this as much. Like, honestly, I think I like the Ultimate Spider-Man version better. Like Peter's parents and the Crocs were on this crazy suit together. Like that, honestly, super spies.
Yes. I mean, I'm sure they could figure out a way to retcon it. I'm surprised they haven't. Like, I actually just found out recently that they retconned the whole Norman Osborn affair with Gwen Stacy. They finally said, oh, it was just the chameleon tricking Peter Parker. And I'm like, thank you.
I know. Yeah. It was such an easy thing. I don't know why they didn't do it sooner.
Was the chameleon pretending to be Gwen or Norman?
Good. Whoa, that's a question for another episode. But anyway.
And he had children.
But they did kind of retcon it in a way that made it even more permanent. They gave Peter Parker a sister that he didn't know about.
Is that canon?
Yeah.
Sadly, it is.
She's also a spy.
Yeah. What's her name?
I think, right?
Yeah.
Wow, I'm totally behind on this stuff. Bex Luthor, what's your impression of this episode?
Pretty cool. Liked it a lot. Like how the season starts with a wedding, and then we're like, all right, the weirdest, most convoluted story you've ever seen in a kid show. Let's go. Part 6. Yeah, it's... I don't know. It doesn't fit in as much as the other kind of episodes do, except for like the Kingpin stuff. But season 5 of this animated show gets fucking wild. So,
yeah,
real fast,
crazy season.
Mm-hmm.
without spoiling too much stuff, but yeah, it was. God, Kingpin sucks so much, eh?
He's not like the comic book Kingpin, that's for sure.
No.
Well, he definitely is kind of like the comic book Kingpin in the sense that he knows everything and is boring.
That's annoying. Yes.
I love how he's like, no, you don't understand. We have to get the chameleon out of prison because it needs to be 6. You don't get it.
Yeah,
like, yeah. Just have 5. He's like, it's the insidious 6, and Mysterio isn't here anymore, so we have to break somebody out of jail. They could have found somebody else, but
ridiculous.
It's fine. If they don't break chameleon out of jail, the other episodes don't make sense at the end, so it's fine. I don't care that Peter's parents weren't just regular Joe Schmoes who died. I do care that it gives Peter more reason to be angsty about their death. Mm-hmm. Just let that boy be, I think. Mm-hmm. But animated series Peter Parker isn't really angsty. He's just kind of a whiny bitch about it all. And I'm like, Peter, you're married. I don't know. It's just kind of just like a big setup episode, which is strange for like a 20-minute cartoon. But there is, what is there? There's 5 parts, right? And we're only reviewing 3. I watched all 5.
Oh, shit.
Because I wanted to see how it ended.
Okay. We're going to be reviewing those in 3 weeks, but okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, of course.
Well, I wanted to see how it ended.
We're reviewing the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm ready. I'm going to skip... When it gets to the Secret Wars stuff, I plead the 5th. I am absolutely not.
You can't. You're contractually obligated.
No.
There might be a golden notebook.
There's gonna be several golden notebooks.
Yeah, I hope so.
It was fine. It was at least interesting enough that I wanted to watch the next episode. Sometimes some of these older cartoons, it's rough to keep your attention. But Silver Sable was there. The best part is the J. Jonas, the Peter convincing him that he has to go to Russia because Spider-Man is going to take over the Kremlin. That's the best part of the whole episode. And Robbie's like, yeah, absolutely. And Peter's like, what do you mean, absolutely? That's the best part of the episode for me.
I can forgive a lot, but that was pushing the limit for me. Like, I could so clearly see the writers just like jamming those thoughts into the characters' heads. Like, I thought it was really bad, but whatever.
But it makes Joe look like such a good person. It's always funny. I like it.
That part of it worked, yes. So Josh, you summarized the episode, but what was your take on the episode overall?
Yeah, it was. It's becoming so like the episodes are moving at like such a neck break speed. It's wild. It's going like so much is happening. I feel like I don't have any time to like understand what any of the characters are doing, what their motives are. I watched 3 episodes just recently. I think it was last night or the night before, and I couldn't even remember Keen Marlowe's name before the episode. I had to look it up. Actually, I think I asked Becca what the character's name was before we started because I couldn't even remember.
Right.
Because it was all just so. I don't know. So I kind of feel about all 3 of these episodes. It just
going off the rails.
Yeah, getting a little crazy, and it's not like crazy enough for me to be like, "This is wild." I'm having so much fun at how like insane this episode is getting.
Right.
It's just like whatever.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, okay, with that, I just want to ask one more question, Jank. So, what other 90s cartoons are you familiar with? I'm assuming you've seen Batman, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All like X-Men. What about Superman?
X-Men, Superman, Hulk. I think I watched some of the Iron Man cartoon briefly, but not very much.
Okay.
Maybe an episode of Fantastic Four here or there.
So, where do you rate this Spider-Man cartoon versus all those other ones?
Oh, I mean, I love it. This one's probably... Well, I guess Batman's probably number 1. Probably have X-Men number 2. And then this is right behind.
Okay. Yeah, that probably... that tracks. I mean, I do love Superman. Superman was inconsistent, but I did love Superman.
Yeah. I mean, it did have Gilbert Gottfried as...
I didn't like him in that role, but whatever. I can understand. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check this out now.
Yeah. Oh, Josh, I got the Blu-ray box set. It's coming your way, believe me.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. Okay, on that note, we are going to jump to the next episode, which is titled... Hold on here. Unless, Becca, do you know the title? Oh.
It's Spider-Man.
Chapter 2, Unclaimed Legacy.
6 Forgotten Warriors.
Well, I think you mean Season 5, Episode 3, 6 Forgotten Warriors, Chapter 2, Unclaimed Legacy.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what I said.
Just so the kids know what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Okay, so Becca, reading the Wikipedia entry and go.
Right. So this episode starts off with where the last one ended, and the Spider-Man saves Robbie from the explosion. And then they're fine, I guess. And the next day, they go to see one of Robbie's friends, who is a police officer in Russia, because Robbie used to work in Russia. They don't mention this again, so it's irrelevant. Mm-hmm. But then the police chief comes in, and he's like, "Fuck these Americans! Get out of my office!" And they're like, "That was really weird." But before they leave, the guy gives them, like, an address. So they go to this address, and the scientist's daughter lives there. And she recalls when Peter's parents were there trying to get the Doomsday Device information because they weren't traitors to America. They were working for America, pretending to be traitors, working for Germany? Anyway.
Triple agents.
Yeah, sure. So the whole time, then Peter's like, oh, thank God my parents aren't traitors to America, because that's the worst thing that they could be. I don't know. Not like they like killed. There's like way worse things for your parents to turn out to be. I should know.
Boy.
Just joking. What else happened in this episode? Right, and then the Ileana, the daughter, she's like, well, before they died, they gave my dad this box to make sure it got back to America, and it didn't make it back to America, but it's in the floorboards, so she takes the box out, and it's got like the doomsday device plans or whatever in it, and her husband turns around and is like, I'll take these, and like points a gun at them, and she's like, what is going on? It's the chameleon actually using his powers for once. Good for him. So then a chase ensues, and Peter just immediately is Spider-Man and is not caring that anyone notices that, and chases down the chameleon. Where do they? Oh, it's a trap, right? It's a trap. And then the Kingpin is like, don't worry, Spider-Man, I'm gonna use this doomsday device to become the king of the world. And everyone's like, all right, I guess you went from Kingpin in New York to king of the world. Okay, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's a double trap, and everyone is kidnapped by Silver Sable. And they all end up in Chernobyl. Because that's the one thing that you know that is in Russia.
Right.
And it turns out that it's the Red Skull, except it's not, who wanted the Doomsday plans, but it's his son, who's also the captain of the police, right? It's all the same guy?
Yeah.
Right. So it's the Red Skull's son, and he used everybody to get the plans, and then there's like a big fight, and then he destroys the building, and then they all get out of the building, but Peter saves Silver Sable because she seems really taken aback that the guy she's been working for is the Red Skull. Figure maybe you ask a couple, when you're a professional Nazi hunter, maybe ask if your employers are Nazis beforehand. That should be like one of the check boxes, ma'am. So Peter saves her and the rest of the Wild Pack, and they all escape, and the Kingpins and his boys steal the plane, and then that's
it was nice of Silver Sable to just pipe up with like, "Hey, my employers have a plane over there. Oh, thanks," and then they all run and take it and leave them all behind. Maybe you should have said that part quiet.
Yeah, don't tell everyone that you have a plane. And I don't remember how Spider-Man and Silver Sable get out of Chernobyl, because the Wikipedia entry just says Spider-Man frees them and they escape.
Yeah, it just cuts to him being on the plane. They don't even show it. I guess he's slowly web swinging out of there.
Right, him and Robbie are just
getting
on
all
the
the cancer.
And then that's that episode.
Yeah, probably my least favorite of the three.
Yeah.
So the last one was actually better than this. I think obviously the key problem is the convoluted connection between Russia and Robbie Robertson and everything else, right? Like, because we also have different stories. Like we have the Peter Parker parents story. Then we have this what are they called? The Insidious Six. And then we also have the Six Warriors. Like, why force these stories together? I don't really know why. So it's probably too many things in one episode or one storyline, right? That's probably one problem.
Yeah.
Kevin
I think in the first episode, there was a line where when Kingpin was putting the Insidious Six back together, he's like, I'm going to assemble my 6 forgotten warriors, which is weird that he would come up with that same exact name. And, like, how are they forgotten? They attack the city, like, every other week. Who's forgotten about them?
Yeah.
Good point.
Well, because who is the main antagonist in season 4? It's like, oh, there's a bunch of them. Right?
I don't even remember
it's like
now.
Kraven,
yeah,
Goblin comes back,
Morbius,
the Lizard, Prowler. Oh, so it is none of these guys. So maybe they've been forgotten for a season. Morbius.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to talk about this episode because it's kind of the middle chapter, but it's... I mean, I do like the fact that it's cool to see them introduce a new element to the cartoon of like espionage in World War II. That's cool. I like that. But at the same time, why not just ditch the Kingpin stuff altogether? Why do they have to keep dragging the Kingpin into everything? That's the weirdest decision with this show too, because at this point in the comics, he was completely removed from Spider-Man, and he was a Daredevil villain. So I don't know why John Semper decided to use the Kingpin so much in this show. That's one thing I thought was weird.
Well, if it wasn't for the Kingpin, they never would have gotten out of there. He was the one who finally burst out of his shackles. Like, Spider-Man with his super strength couldn't do it, the Rhino can't do it, but this guy who's just, got tons of muscle, he was able to bust free.
Right. Josh, any thoughts on this episode? No. Okay.
The only thing I could say about it is it had probably the only time I've ever laughed out loud in any of 3 of these episodes is when Silver Sable says, well, Kingpin, the reason why I was able to track you down is because somebody on your team is a spy and betrayed you. And it like zooms in super close onto Kingpin's face, like within like a couple of frames, and he goes, "What?" Like he just like screams it. It was funny. So funny. But it's true. Like it really, Kingpin should not be here. It does not make any sense. He shows up for no reason. Like you've hired 6 bad guys to go and do this thing for you, and you still have to show up, and you have to be like, "Oh, welcome, Spider-Man, to my secret temporary Russia base." Shut up! Oh my god, it's so annoying. Yeah, this episode was really rough. The fact that they had to have the Red Skull actually appear instead of just appearing in flashbacks, just for Kingpin to rip off the mask. It's Red Skull. Actually, it's not really Red Skull, and you rip off the Red Skull mask.
It's son. It's crap. That was crap.
Are you kidding me? Yeah, this is definitely the worst one of the bunch that we've talked about. Possibly the worst one that we've talked about, period. I'm trying to remember what the other one was that was like really stinky, but man, this one was not great. No.
So, is there anything else to say about this episode? Bex Luthor, you got anything else?
Season 5 of Spider-Man the Animated Series is just a convoluted mess. But I do love it for that. Mm-hmm. But these episodes are not the reason. Nobody who's a fan of the show is like, "Oh yeah, the 6 Secret Warrior saga. That was my favorite part of the last season of Spider-Man the Animated Series, where shit hits the fan hard." But no, we gotta talk about Captain America and some old people for a bit.
Oh, I can't wait to talk
backdoor
about
pilot for Captain America.
Yeah, speaking of, I guess I don't think any of us recommend this one, correct?
No.
Okay.
No.
So, yeah, speaking of...
Oh, Bex Luthor does.
I don't remember why, but I remember something was funny.
Oh, Kingpin, probably. What?
Yeah. Or maybe it was just like the Sinister Six working together and it making no sense. I think I like that. Because, like, why are any of these people together? Like, they don't all have the same motivations. Like, Scorpion's like, "I'll do it for the money," but why Dr. Octopus wouldn't do that?
Yeah.
I don't understand it. It's just a strange group. Like the Chameleon. I know why the Chameleon's there now, but like, I don't know. I do like that they're all... Maybe it's the...
And it's a spy?
Yeah.
It's the Rhino. Damn it! He pulled a fast one on all of us.
Okay, so I guess we're going to jump to the next one.
Yeah.
Sure.
Let's do it.
I will do my best to summarize this episode. It is called Spider-Man Season 5, Episode 4, 6 Forgotten Warriors, Chapter 3, Secrets of the Six. And, okay, hold on a sec here. I'm actually watching, I have the episode on as I'm talking. So, we're back in New York.
So it's going to be a 20-minute long review.
Yeah, exactly. No summary, then we're going to review it. So basically, this is actually, I really like this stuff. So what's the old man's name at the beginning? I don't remember who it is. But he brings out something to show Peter and Joe Robertson. And it turns out it's Captain America's shield.
Oh, yeah. Somebody in the last episode was like, Peter, if you want to know really what happened, you got to talk to this old man.
Right. So I don't know his name.
That was Robbie. He's Robbie's
the
old
Black
professor.
Marvel.
Yeah, the Black
Omar
Marvel's
Mosley.
Okay.
like sidekick or whatever, right? Yeah.
So we flash
Yeah,
back
he claims
to...
he was his chauffeur.
His chauffeur.
Yeah, right. So we flash
Totally
back
not
to
him.
What's that?
Totally not him.
Yeah. So we flash back to the origin of Captain America. We see a slightly different version of Steve Rogers getting his powers. As we know in the comic book, he basically gets, steroids. In this, he walks into like a pool of like chemicals, becomes Captain America. The guy who invented the super soldier formula gets shot by a German spy, just like in the comics. And then we find out that this is where it gets a little bit different. They tried to recreate the super soldier formula, but it didn't quite work. It conveniently gave a bunch of different people different powers. And so we have one person who can run really fast, who's called the Wizard. Now help me out if I forget. One person could become lighter than air. Was that Miss America?
Yeah, Miss America can fly.
Yeah.
Okay. Then
There's the Wizard, Miss America, Destroyer, Thunderer, and Black Marvel.
And the last three are just like basically strong, right?
Destroyer is strong. Thunderer is like
Sonic scream.
yeah.
Oh,
He's the one that yells.
That was bad too. That was really bad.
Yeah, and Black Marvel, I can't remember what his thing is.
I think they're both just strength.
Yeah, they actually specifically say the last two were pretty much like Captain America. They kind of like, they ran out of ideas. Because at least one of these characters was two of them were created for the show. I think the Black Marvel and the Thunderer were created by John Semper for the show. So he didn't get very creative with their powers. Now, the other thing they say is that they realized that, what was it? If they use their powers all the time, something bad happens. So then
they couldn't. Their powers would like disappear. So they can only use them for like an hour a day or whatever, and they would be gone.
They give themselves these rings that suppress their powers, so they can only use them for a limited amount of time, which is kind of a cool idea. I don't know, whatever. It's not bad. And then what happens after that? Oh yeah, so then after World War II, the group breaks up, right? And they go their separate ways. But because Captain America gets frozen in ice. I don't even know if they show that, do they? Maybe
no,
they
he
do.
gets put into a vortex.
Yeah, he doesn't get frozen. He gets sucked into. He sacrifices himself to destroy Red Skull, and he grabs Red Skull and jumps into a portal.
Okay.
It's that doomsday weapon they keep talking about. It's some like energy stasis field. They jump in there and get frozen.
I don't know why they changed it, but whatever.
Energy. Yeah.
So the rest of the group, they decide, they split up, right? And then the rest of the episode is them trying to find... I don't even remember what happens. You guys have to jump in and help me now. I'm watching the episode, and I still don't remember what happens. We jump back to the Insidious Six, and they're together with the Kingpin, and then we cut over to the Wizard and his son. Their house gets broken into by the Rhino, right?
Yeah. So this doomsday weapon is powered by the 6 statues, and all of the superheroes, after they've disbanded, kept their statues. So to not activate this doomsday weapon again, so the Sinister Six are now tasked to go and each take one of the superheroes and defeat them, so they can take the statue. So that's what we're kind of seeing now at the end of the episode, is like the Sinister Six one by one picking off the bad guys and collecting all of these totems that will unlock this super weapon that will destroy the entire world. So Kingpin can use that to become the king of Earth.
Stupid.
Stupid.
So anyway,
dumb, bad.
So then Destroyer ends up coming back and fighting the Shocker, right? With his...
I think that's the next episode. I think this episode ends with Peter looking for
Oh no, someone's fighting the guy in this who's got the striped pants. Is that
Yeah.
Destroyer?
Oh yeah, he shows himself to Spider-Man and Mary Jane,
Yeah, even though he's an old man. Yeah,
Mhm.
and like doesn't question that it's Spider-Man and Mary Jane because it's not Peter.
right.
Yeah.
And then and so he's like flashing back, explaining things, and then how does this episode end, Becca? Oh no, you don't remember.
It ends.
They fly to space, right? They fly off.
Yeah.
I think it ends with
Yeah, Peter and the Destroyer.
Yeah.
like saying that they have to find the rest of the team to get their keys.
Right.
They just fly off their spaceship.
That's
Oh
pretty
right,
much it.
and they lived happily ever after.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. We should say quickly, this idea of this super team is partly inspired by the All-Winners Squad, the Liberty Legion, and then the Retcon team, the Invaders. And those teams consisted of, like, depending on which team it was, either Captain America or the Wizard, Miss America. I think Jack Frost was in one, Submariner was in another. So these are basically Marvel's...
Wolverine.
Oh
I
no!
think
Did
at
they
time-
retcon him in? That's ridiculous. But we won't even talk about that,
Wolverine's always involved in World War II.
right?
Yeah.
But in the original versions, I'm saying it was all the characters I just mentioned, and then they have to retcon it in, and everything's all tied together. 50 years ago, Han Solo as a kid was in there. I'm sure the Flintstone kids are in there. I'm sure. But I personally love these Golden Age characters that have kind of aged. You know, that's something Alan Moore played with in Watchmen, and I guess John Semper was partly inspired by Watchmen to do this story of like these superheroes that have grown old and flashing back and showing them all. I don't know why he created new characters. He could have used all of Marvel's characters from that time, but whatever. But, you know, not a masterpiece episode, but the concept of this I thought was really cool. Kevin Jank, what'd you think of this one?
Boy, was there a lot of flashbacks. Even like at the beginning, it opens with like Spider-Man swinging around, flashing back to what story this guy told him. It's like you couldn't just do this in normal time and
Right.
just have him leave after.
Right.
He has to flash back to what happened like 5 minutes ago. Yeah,
good
it's. I did get a laugh when he was like, he started questioning like the Wizard, and the guy's like, for his speed, of course.
Yes, I noticed that. Yes.
Not
But
because he's yellow.
But like right, yeah,
Because he can
exactly.
piss like a man.
Right. But right before that, Spider-Man was like, well, the Blue Marvel, the Destroyer, and they expected to be taken seriously? Like, hey, listen, Spider-Man, as soon as you call attention to these names, the whole thing falls apart, so better just not to say anything, right?
That's true.
But anyway,
And like Destroyer's fine.
I think that's a cool name, actually.
Yeah,
And like
that one works.
what was the other ones?
Blue Marvel.
Miss America.
Black Marvel.
Oh, Black
Black
Marvel.
Marvel, Thunder,
That's fine.
Destroyer, Miss America,
Thunderer's
Wizard.
dumb. Wizard's just bad.
Wizard
Miss
is.
America is
I'm glad that they made a joke about
sexist.
Yes.
I'm glad that
Yeah.
they made a joke about.
It was subtle,
It
but
sounded
I
like
liked it.
piss. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, they're like, this is the piss hero.
Piss hero.
Miss America's
And I
a cool
like-
name.
How they were like, the Wizard, I guess, is like a comic book artist now.
Yeah.
He's teaching
Yeah.
his son to draw. That's kind of cute.
That's
I like
cool.
that scene. He's like,
Very
not-
Steve
he's like,
Rogers.
the head's too small. He's like, nah, we don't draw comics like you do anymore because it was 94. And I was like, haha, I understand what's going on because it's 90s Spider-Man and
Right.
old people like Mike are complaining because
Yes. Me.
Todd McFarlane's drawing Spider-Man.
Yeah, that was a good joke. Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, like things like that. Again, like it's adding a slightly different dimension to the show and introducing these old characters. So I thought that was pretty cool. You know? And the funny
Yeah.
thing is, because we're reading the comics at the same time, I kind of forgot. Was this the first time we saw Silver Sable? In like part-
Yes, in the show.
I was like, oh, look,
Yeah.
she's back. Like, nope, this is her first appearance. And then we have seen Captain America before, right?
In a flashback?
Yeah, I don't think he was. He himself hasn't shown up, but in
Okay.
flashbacks of people talking about him, I think. But
I think it was Wolverine.
I don't even
Yeah,
know.
That
maybe.
would make sense.
maybe. Okay. This
yeah,
episode.
he was Logan's backup for a mission. That's something. I don't know
Right.
what episode that is from.
Yeah, it's been a while though, I think. Yeah, I don't know. This episode, they should have made the entire episode a flashback. It should have started with Robbie and Peter Parker meeting up with the dude, and then the flashback starts, and they get the whole thing about these old superheroes and Captain America and their whole backstory. I actually liked that part of the backstory, and I think it worked the best in this issue out of everything that happened. And if they would have just spent some time like actually setting up that story of like what happened, what this doomsday device is, why it's there, I think that they could have ended the episode with them cutting out of the flashback, and we see the Sinister Six being like, we have to find out where these superheroes are so we can steal the totems. And then that's it. Because that's kind of where we end off this episode anyways, right? Like, the totems are all stolen, I think, by the end of the episode, but they need to go find the other superheroes to fight the Sinister Six anyways, right? So if they would have just ended it with, like, we need to go find the other superheroes before their totems are gone and to get their help to stop the Sinister Six, that would have been a really great ending. But they really rushed through the flashback to kind of just throw whatever exposition that they possibly could at us all at once so we can get back to present day and see some action with the Sinister Six and see what the fuck the Kingpin is doing again. Yeah, it's kind of a bummer, this second half of this episode, I think.
This is the thing is, I'm like I've said before, I'm also watching Superman at the same time I'm watching Spider-Man, like back and forth. And the one thing Superman does right is each episode stands on its own. Whereas the Spider-Man show, every single episode has the Kingpin or the guy that looks like Two-Face or whatever. So it's all one big blur. And even in an episode like this, where they're trying to focus on World War II characters, they still have to force all that stuff in. And like you just said, if they would have taken all that shit out, and like the Sinister Six out, they could have just focused on what the story should have been and just made it a better episode. Like, do they really think that viewers are going to turn it off just because they don't see the shocker, you know? I don't know.
Yeah.
I know I would have.
Yeah.
That's my boy.
Kevin Jank, are you a big fan of like these 1940s superheroes?
I can't say they're my favorites. I mean, if this were a Captain America show, I don't think I would have a problem with it. In a Spider-Man show, it's not exactly what I'm tuning in for.
Sure.
Even though this does have like Spidey villains and stuff in it, it doesn't feel like it's moving any of their stories along. They're just kind of hired henchmen and not doing anything that's who they are. And like Peter Parker just got married. Couldn't we be exploring that a little more instead of just this weird Captain America story?
Yep,
like,
good point.
I don't know. Not the best.
Interesting. Bex Luthor, are you familiar with these characters? Like some of these characters? No?
Yeah, the big Wizard fan right here.
But Becca, you say that like it's a joke,
Number
but I am a
one
Wizard
fan.
fan.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, I kind of got that vibe. I thought the whole thing was dumb.
I'm offended.
The whole time Peter's like, you guys are the real heroes. I was like, shut the fuck. No, they're not. They're useless. They're weighing you down. Go get somebody more useful. They're past their prime. Send them out to pasture. Out with the old, in with the new.
It's like Old Yeller. Bring them behind the shed and shoot him in the back of the head, right?
You can't even see Miss America's boobs. Like, what's the point?
No boob window or anything? Come on.
Ew.
Yeah. It's just...
This whole arc for me is just a big, like, nah.
That's too bad.
Is it?
Yeah, because I like it because it's something different.
Just wait, you wait.
Yeah, there's lots of different things coming up. No, I think that if they would have focused on one thing, it could have been fine. Like, even if they focused on the Sinister Six going to these like random people and like attacking them and stealing their totems or whatever, then we could have been like unraveling the story as we're seeing all of these like new characters be introduced or whatever. Like, there's no, I don't know. I think that they spread themselves too thin once again in this episode, and it would have been better if they just committed to either the flashback story and we figure out what's going on, or the heroes in present day and what they're up to, and like seeing them kind of take on this Sinister Six one by one.
It's funny because I actually like this one more than a lot of the other episodes. Isn't that funny? But it's probably because I just like these characters. Like, I definitely agree that this would have fit better in a Captain America story than in a Spider-Man story, but it's kind of just like a backdoor window kind of way to introduce these characters, right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't
And
fit.
if you hated the fact that Peter Parker's parents were S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, what about the revelation in here that like Uncle Ben's best friend was a superhero?
Right.
And he was the one who taught him about what with great power comes great responsibility. Like, oh boy.
That was
yeah,
a George Lucasian moment when Peter was like, that's how Ben learned that lesson. You know, like, come on.
That very obvious lesson.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so there you go. We have some mixed opinions here. So I guess the final question is, Kevin Jank, are you excited to watch more episodes of Spider-Man?
I am. I would probably skip the rest of this arc and just go to something else, but I'll go back to like the episodes where they keep talking about the neogenic recombinator. Those are my favorites.
Oh, man. Yeah, I take
days.
that. Yeah, over this any day.
I guess that's it. Becca, do you recommend this episode?
Well, mostly because I finished watching the arc. Yes. Because the end of this story is wild. It like goes in a direction that you would not expect it to go.
Interesting.
And it's funny. But I think it might be funny in a way that only I think is funny and enjoy.
I think I know what
Maybe
you're
it's
talking
funny
about.
in a dumb, bad storytelling way. But I like it, and I think it's worth it to watch the whole thing just for all of the payoffs that happened in later episodes in this season, and all of the plots that never get a conclusion. At least this one does.
Awesome. Okay, Josh, you recommend this episode?
No.
So. Very succinct.
I actually totally do, because again, I love these characters. I love bringing attention to the Wizard and Miss America and in the old Captain America and the Red Skull and all that stuff. So it'd be nice to see them do more with that, but whatever. So I guess that's it. So we want to thank Kevin Jank for joining us again.
Sure, a lot of fun.
Yeah, officially this has been your 5th episode. So
okay,
you haven't broken the record yet.
Since this one started.
Yeah, but you're on the way to breaking the record. We'll see. We want to thank Bex Luthor for joining us.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I was a little bit low energy, but we just reviewed Black Adam, and oh, Jesus Christ, took it all out of me. But yeah, it's always great to be here, and of course, when you're like, watch 3 episodes of a cartoon, I was like, I watched 7.
Yeah. And then you can watch them again before we actually do the reviews.
I won't.
Before you do that, though, don't forget we have to get back to the comic book, so be sure to join us next week as we review Web of Spider-Man 55, featuring the showdown with the Los Lobos brothers, Amazing Spider-Man 321, which is part 2 of the Assassin Nation plot, featuring Silver Sable, part 3 of the Assassin Nation plot, featuring Silver Sable, and then Spectacular Spider-Man 155, featuring Tombstone punching Spider-Man in the face.
What?
Yeah, and Josh,
when doesn't he?
Yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. Please leave us a review over on Apple Podcast, or leave a comment over on our Facebook or YouTube or Twitter. You can find us anywhere at the Comic Book Syndicate. You can also find everything that we do over at thecomicbooksyndicate.com. Please let us know what you guys think about the podcast and the videos and the comics that we're talking about, or in this case, the cartoons. Let us know what you guys think, and let's keep that comics conversation going.
That's right, and until next Monday, Spider Friends,
Go for it!